Hi, I'm Kevin Tharp, and you're putting up with Doc T. Today we are going to change format a little bit and come all the way to Rhode Island to interview a friend and a technology entrepreneur, David Brown, who is the CEO, owner, chief cook, and bottle washer for droners.io, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. But before we get into that, I just want to start the conversation and get us going here. So, would you rather be a rock or a tree, and why?
I would definitely rather be a tree. I think sitting on the ground, not being able to move, would be pretty boring.
Okay.
And yeah, haven't thought too much about it, but I think tree would be better.
Yeah, cool. That's where I'd go too. Would you rather be a bird or a mammal?
Definitely a bird.
Definitely a bird. Okay,
Yeah.
which kind of bird? And why?
Would be nice to be like a larger predator, so I wouldn't get chewed up immediately, but if I could live for a little while, a little bird would be okay. But not like a hawk or something would be cool.
Having spent the night on the boat with you last night, seems to me that you would be interested in being some kind of a predator that could fish as well.
Yeah. Yeah, good call.
Okay, so I met Dave, oh gosh, it's been a long time ago now, somewhere between 10 and 15 years ago in Rolla, Missouri, where we were both working for, at the time it was the University of Missouri-Rolla, and we were actually involved with the name change to Missouri University of Science and Technology, where at the time he was a student employee working for the Electronic Marketing Communications Department, and I worked for the same department as an information architect. Then he graduated and went off to the world, and I went off and did my thing, and now I've come back to Rhode Island so that we can talk to him about his life and specifically about this business that he's got going, the Droners.io. So if you could tell us a little bit about what is Droners.io and kind of give us a background. The idea here is the show is Putting Up with Doc T, and so my idea is that what you're doing is you're sort of building something from nothing. This whole drone thing is brand new, and we're as a society just trying to figure out how to do it. And you're one of the people that are on the cutting edge of trying to figure out how do we do the droner thing. And so that's where I'll bring you in and give us a little background about the company, what it is, where it's going, and some of your thoughts about why you're doing it.
Sure. Yeah, so about 2 years ago, actually exactly 2 years ago, I started Droners.io, and what it is it's a professional drone pilot marketplace. So for anyone who isn't familiar with the term marketplace, you could think Uber for drones, or Airbnb, or HomeAway, Thumbtack, sites like that connect people looking for something and others who have what they're looking for, service providers and people looking for a service. So back in July 2015, I was out kite surfing, and a friend with his drone came out and shot me while I was kite surfing, and the footage was amazing. He uploaded it on Facebook, and everybody was immediately asking, did it come from a helicopter, and was it oohing and awing over it? And I had recently left another marketplace, a fairly successful company that raised about $25 million from Google, and I had kind of marketplaces in my blood and had a lot of experience from that company, and so So I had kind of, so stepping back, after I got that footage, I went online and looked around to see how easy it would be for me to hire a drone pilot and how expensive it would be to obtain that same footage. And surprisingly, there wasn't much around in regard to finding local drone pilots that would be capable of capturing that type of footage. So that was when the idea started that if I built a marketplace to connect people looking for those types of resources and professional drone pilots on the other side, that it would probably do pretty well. Digging into it more, I then started finding all the regulations around using drones, and there's tons around using around airports or moving cars or around crowds of people, nighttime operations. So there's tons of regulations that are put in place by the FAA that you also have to follow if you're a drone pilot. So building a marketplace that allowed us to vet pilots to make sure they were licensed and figure out how much or if they had insurance was also a really viable resource for people looking for pilots. So that was how the idea started. So I spent a couple months building it. I used Python. I'm a big Django fanatic, or Django junkie, as you might say, which is actually a business that I own. So I built it using that framework. The first prototype took about 2 to 3 months to build, and I launched. And this was actually the timing was perfect. I never never in my life I had timed a product so well with the market. And immediately upon releasing, it was picked up by Forbes and Wired, and it became the top featured product on Product Hunt, which is a popular startup product aggregate or feature site. So to this day, it's still the number one drone product on there, which is pretty, in my book, definitely a feather in a cap.
Sure.
So it's been we've been focusing in the U.S. Just to get kind of the business model nailed down and get all the kinks worked out. Right now, we have almost about 10,000 pilots in the U.S. And hopefully in about a month to 2 months, we'll be rolling out in the UK, Canada, and Australia, and other countries as those countries start developing their own drone regulations that allow us to ensure that pilots using our service are licensed and are following the rules.
So you'll have to customize some of that for each country that you go into, right?
A little bit. That's kind of why we're cherry picking particular countries. So like right now, for example, Canada, why they have a pretty solid system for controlling who can fly where. It is still a bit complicated. Like for a beginner drone pilot, they usually issue a temporary license that might only be good for maybe a month or so, and it's only good for a particular region or a particular flight. So us maintaining that level of data for when a job comes into the job board, and then being able to determine, okay, is this pilot okay to fly it? Is it the last day of his license? If we show him the job, is he going to be flying it illegally? Mm-hmm. So those kind of nuances we are trying to stay away from,
right.
And kind of go with kind of more of a blanket type license where it's like, they can fly across the entire country, or for 2 years or things like that is where we're trying to go with. And so far there isn't really that many countries that have rolled out a system like that the U.S. has, but they're getting put in place pretty quickly. As you can imagine, the demand is skyrocketing, and people all over the place misusing drones, and they need to get something in place pretty quick.
Right. So it's one of those areas where anytime you have technology changing as quickly as all technology is changing right now, society always is behind the technology. They can't predict what the issues are going to be until the technology is there. And the one that I hold out with drones is what's going to happen when people want to start strapping a firearm to their drone. It's like, okay, all of a sudden there's a whole set of things that are going to have to be considered, and it's like, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, the question is, can I hunt with my drone? Can I hunt deer with my drone? Can I open carry with my drone? so technology is always, or society is always behind the technology, trying to figure out how to legislate it. So you've touched on this a little bit. This is not the first entrepreneurial step that you've had into technology. You know, it's not your first step into technology entrepreneurship. You've had a few other things, and one of the things that sticks out in my mind is he's had some projects that were involved with taking the proceeds, or a portion of the proceeds that you earned, and giving them back into, I'll use the term community benefit. So whether it's donating to a not-for-profit organization or whatever. And so that we were talking yesterday, and you said that that's something you want to get back into when you're able to. So, you know, I commend you for that. But what I want to do now is I want to take a little bit of tact. I would like to talk about your office and where you work and how you work, and because that's one of the things that a lot of the people that are interested in having lives as technology entrepreneurs, I think that what you're doing is kind of a capsule of what some of those people are really drawn to. So could you just talk about, you know, your office and what you do and how you do it?
Yeah, sure. So my office, which has frequently been dubbed as the best office in the world by people walking by, is a 1986 Synchro Volkswagen Vanagon, or some people might call the camper bus, although technically it's the van model in the 80s. So yeah, it's got two little desk setups in there. I have some backup batteries in there, and it's four-wheel drive. So we live pretty close to the ocean here in Rhode Island. So basically I'll go spot a nice, empty, beautiful beach for the day and park it and chill there for the day. And basically, 5 days a week, I'm usually parked a couple feet in front of the ocean and working in the camper. And right now I don't have that much time, but usually I like to take surf breaks or kite surf breaks. Or right now I still take a lot of fish breaks. I can't give up that. But yeah, it has really become a dream come true. Yeah, I couldn't imagine having any other work environment. I think even if Facebook offered me $250,000 a year to work for them, I think I would probably turn it down. So it's turned out to be pretty cool.
So you've got an office that if the fish are biting, you go fishing. If the wind is right, you go kite sailing or kite surfing. And if neither of those things are happening, then you get your brain cranking out and turn out some kind of new idea, a way of making money with technology, and in some way helping to improve society.
Yeah, that's pretty.
This is David Brown, good old friend of mine. I'm Kevin Tharp. You've been putting up with Doc T. Peace.
That was great.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to record it.
Oh.